Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Insurance 360. As always, I'm Bob, here with
Rob Valincius.
Hey, well.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. So, we're really excited about today's episode. Last episode, we did talk quite a bit about all the changes coming in the Medicare world, the final rule. But there is another part of this that I think is just as big, if not bigger, that could have ripple effects across the entire Medicare space, and that is the Inflation Reduction Act. So, Rob, you know there's somebody at the government that comes up with these names, right? That's their full-time job, I'm sure.
It's probably the same person that decided to name everything after a letter for everything in Medicare. An A is an A, but is it really an A?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act and its impact on Medicare Part D and how that is going to impact Medicare Part C or Medicare Advantage, right? Because there's quite a bit of tie-in with all of this. So first off, Part D, been around 2006, long time, right?
A little bit before my time.
Yeah, it's been a really important change, obviously, to the healthcare landscape. High cost of drugs and prescriptions, specifically in the senior market. So it's a really important legislation that came down. But there's really some big changes, and it's not only this upcoming year. I mean, these changes are going to be implemented over the next several years, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about, I think, the upcoming year more, right? We're going to focus on that. And one of the biggest things, I think, maybe not even the biggest thing, we're going to talk about some of the biggest things that are changing. So, Rob, donut hole, right? We've heard...
Gone. It's gone.
Yeah, gone. And I think it's probably good. I think most people never understood the donut hole, how it worked, how it impacted everybody's costs, but donut hole's gone.
I wanted to say I understood it, but I feel like I still, after 8 years, I was like, I'm guessing this is what it is, but it's probably the number one thing I had to teach people.
Right,
is what is the donut hole?
Yeah,
not just agents, but people too.
Yeah, how that calculation worked, what people had to pay in the donut hole, all that fun stuff that came along with it. Good news is we don't really have to worry about it anymore, as the donut hole is gone. We're going to go from 4 phases of Part D. We're now down to 3 starting this year, 2025 plans.
I think that's good. I mean, look, there's a lot of doom and gloom in the industry right now, right? And I think there's some of the stuff that we're talking about today, which personally I thought was going to be more of a detriment to people, but after seeing some more stuff, I think some of it is a positive impact. Yeah. Obviously we've already dealt with the insulin cap, the $35 insulin cap. That was this past year.
Big deal. Big cost savings. If you're somebody on insulin and you're now capped at $35, you are happy. Yeah. That's a good thing.
And well, some of the insulins were absurd, and it's like
crazy.
You need it to live. It's not like I decide to take my insulin today,
right?
Right. So I think that was an important change, and it's a part of the IRA that we've kind of seen creep through, because obviously they're doing this in stages. They don't want to shell shock everybody.
Yeah, so we see the insulin's part of it now, the $35, we all know that's what it's capped at. Obviously, for, like I mentioned, people on insulin, big deal, right? But that type of change impacts everybody in the plan, right? Those costs are going to be spread now across everybody. And what we're talking about with the changes really does impact everybody, right? Yep. The person that was on the least expensive Part D plan, right? We talked about it a little bit in the last episode, whether it was, a 0 premium in New Jersey or it was a 50-cent plan per month in another state. When they see this upcoming year, that cheapest plan is now $60, $70, $80, whatever it may be. We haven't seen the plan cost yet, obviously. And they were paying 0 or 50 cents. It impacts them, right? But it's because of some of these other changes. They're spreading out the cost. And it's going to impact everybody, right? So we're looking at donut hole gone, going down to 3 stages. So we've got deductible. We've got what they're going to call the standard coverage phase, and then catastrophic. Now, the catastrophic phase, now individuals, the beneficiaries, they're not paying anything.
Yeah.
That's a win, right?
I
think a lot of this is going to be a win for beneficiaries, but again, we're going to talk a little bit about how those cost changes and who's paying for what, right? At the end of the day, somebody's paying for all of this.
Yeah, and you know, the catastrophic phase significantly drops because the troop's now $2,000.
Yeah, that's a big deal. 8,000 to 2,000, right?
Somebody's got to pay for it, though.
Yeah. And when we talk about how the troop is being calculated, right, that could be everything from what the actual cost of the drug is, what the out-of-pocket cost to the beneficiary is, whatever the greater of is my understanding of how they're going to calculate it for this year. So I've seen some preliminary calculations where you've got that $2,000 troop that an individual could hit it, but only pay a couple $100 out of pocket themselves, hit the troop, and then if you're in the catastrophic phase, right? Now there's no more cost to the beneficiary. Now we're going to see that new spread. And it looks like the carrier's taking a big hit in the catastrophic phase, right? There's a big jump there. I know they're not happy about it.
I know we joked about it, but I'd love to have the lobbyist of the pharmaceutical companies because they did a great job.
Right. Big change. So we're looking at the carriers now in the catastrophic phase at about 60%. You've got the pharmaceutical companies and the government at 20% each, right? So there is a big change. So being that the carriers are paying that larger amount, what is that ripple effect on the plans? So what are we going to see at some of the changes?
Well, here's the thing, right? It's not just going to impact Part D, right? Because a lot of people, when they think Part D, they think a standalone Part D and how that doesn't affect their Medicare Advantage or their Part C plans, which for 95% of the Part D, or I'm sorry, the Part C, it has Part D included, right? Now, with Part D, you're going to see formularies change. I mean, they almost have to. Now, the government has rules and regulations in place for that, but I can't imagine them shifting tiers. So you're going to see things that maybe was a tier 1, tier 2, be a tier 3 or tier 4 now. I think you're going to see massive impacts to premiums, which we don't know what that's going to look like. We've heard inklings, but we don't know, so it's tough to speak about that, right? And then with Medicare Advantage, which I think a lot of people are just kind of like not thinking about that, it's going to have a huge impact because historically the Part C plans have been zero premium, right? And they're going to do whatever they can to keep that zero premium, which means you're going to lose benefits or you're going to have significantly decreased benefits, right? Dental, vision, hearing, I wouldn't expect to see $3,000 and $4,000 dental going forward. You're going to see hits to gym memberships. You're going to see hits to, maybe you're going to have inpatient hospital stay. Instead of it being $250 or $300, it might be $500 a day. You know, and you're going to see it spread out across the benefits of a Part C plan. So yeah, you might keep that zero premium, but it's not going to have all the bells and whistles that it did this year. And there's other impacts to that too. It's not just the IRA, but this is going to have, in my opinion, a pretty significant impact.
Yeah, without a doubt. I agree. I think the carriers are going to do everything they can to keep the zero premium. The impact is going to be on copays, deductibles, some of these extra benefits, OTC benefits could be impacted. We're going to see other things in the plans that are going to change. I think probably before the zero premium, at least this year. I think that's a pretty good guess. Again, we should be seeing those first looks maybe the next 2 months or so. We'll start getting that information released from the carriers. And we don't want to forget that one of the impacts of the final rule is that the change in commissions is also applicable to the Part D. That extra $100 fair market value was not just on the Medicare Advantage, it's also to the Part D. So are we going to see more carriers making their plans non-commissionable because of that?
100%.
Or at least maybe the cheap plan. Maybe you've got 3 products, you know, the low, medium, high plan, but maybe the low plan is not going to be a commissionable plan. I'm sure we're going to see some of that in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, you've really kind of already seen that over the years, right?
Yes.
You have the carriers come out. Aetna did it with Smart Saver, right? They came out with that a couple years ago. It was the cheapest plan in the market. They grabbed a ton of market share, and then I think it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, they said, all right, we're non-commissionable. You're still going to get your renewals, but we're not paying new commissions on that.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely going to see some of those types of changes. because of this. So everybody needs to really get ready. Now, one of the things that the government did make a change on, what they call the Medicare prescription payment program. So this is where it's not going to be as weighted in the beginning, where there's a deductible as heavy anymore, where individuals can opt in to spread their cost over the year. Now, we haven't seen a lot on this, but in some preliminary conversations, it does look like it's not going to be part of the enrollment process, that a beneficiary will have to opt into that program. And it sounds like they could do that even at the pharmacy. So if they want to take advantage of not paying that higher amount up front, they can spread it over the year, but they will have to opt into that program separately.
Now, that sounds great. I think if you were to put that on a piece of paper, right, it sounds great. Oh,
sure.
wow, I don't have to pay $2,000 right up front, or $1,500, or whatever it comes out to actually paying out, because, you know, troops calculate a little differently. But think of the nightmare to the insurance companies, because not only now are they on the hook for a lot more money, now they also have, logistically speaking, more people that are trying to collect money from these seniors.
Right.
And we also don't know a couple of the other things. What happens when you change plans in the middle of the year? What happens if you have a qualifying event and you move? Are you still on the hook for that $2,000? I'd imagine you would be, right? So there's a lot more servicing, I think, that these companies are going to have to do, and it's a trickle. I know I mentioned this last podcast, but it's a trickle down effect. You know, the carriers are going to start to have to figure out, well, how are we going to pay for all this stuff? Because people are going to be on the hook for money, and if they, you know how people switch. I mean, could be here today, gone in 2 months.
Yeah,
and it's going to be, I think the first year is going to be tough. I mean, once they...
Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit on the last episode. We really anticipate that all the agents are going to have to talk to their entire book of business. We just think there's going to be a ton of sticker shock and a ton of moving around. Some agents, you know, I think will take advantage of that. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities because there's going to be so much turmoil going on with the changes in the plans. I think there's going to be a great opportunity to talk to a lot of people, a lot of beneficiaries. So I think it's really important that everybody gets their plan together, how they're going to attack their entire book of business, make sure that they are talking to everybody, because there's going to be a lot of changes. You know, when you see these premiums coming out and it's not 50 cents anymore, now it's $60, you're going to have a conversation with that individual.
Yeah. I mean, historically speaking, you know, a lot of times you don't talk to some of these people until October 1st. I think we need to start to lay the groundwork a little early. I mean, you don't have to talk about plans, but you should be, you know, looking at marketing to your book a little early. You know, sending out flyers like, hey, you know, these are some of the important things going on in the industry. Now, obviously, you can't talk about plan information before October 1st. Right. But you can reach out to your book and say, hey, you know, I would be setting appointments, you know, early, like getting ready to do this. Yes. Because, you know, with the new scope rules from the final rule last year, or well, this year technically, you know, you're able to technically draw up the scope and set those dates for a future date, right? So it's almost like a coupon to a certain degree for an appointment. So I really think people should be hitting the ground hard, talking to their clients a little earlier than they normally would, because if you have especially if you have a large book of business, I mean, I know myself, I'm going to be running around this year because a lot of my business is Part D. So yeah, it sounds great to be paid a little extra, but with all the groundwork you have to do, I mean, it's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, we definitely anticipate, and we talked about it again previously, that there could be quite a bit of migration from the Part D because of some changes also in the premiums and Medicare supplement. You've already seen some of the increases larger than they have been historically. A lot of that has to do with utilization. We know utilization is way up. We had 2020, 2021. With COVID, people just weren't getting things done, right? And now the utilization is way off. We already know that CMS funding has been not to the level this coming year that is suggested is needed for the utilization. So we know there's some definite issues with funding, and then you throw the utilization in there. You throw increases to the Medicare supplement premiums that are happening. increases that we're expecting on the Part D premiums. It's going to be quite interesting this coming year of all the different moving parts that we're going to be dealing with. So we are just going to have to stay on top of everything, right, Rob? I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that everybody is on top of it. Once these first looks come out, we got to start talking about, what's our plan of action, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, look, it starts now, right? So certifications are beginning to come about. AHIP launches Monday next week.
Yeah.
I think that's the 24th. Was
Coming
Monday.
Fast. I can't believe it. Yep.
It's every year. It just flies by. So I think it's important. Certifications are important, right? Do your certifications. Don't wait until the last minute, please, because one, as soon as you do your certifications, it puts you in the mind's eye of the carriers, and that's when they send out their emails for, hey, check out our new benefits. You should be looking at these benefits day one. Don't wait until, the middle of September and go, oh my God, this Part D is now $250 and I have 20 people on this plan.
Right.
You gotta start with the certifications, because that gets you, I don't want to say fast track, but it gets you really ready to go for when those plans are announced for those first looks. And you're going to get your emails, you're going to get inundated, and you want to make a plan on what you're going to see,
right,
how you're going to attack it, and I do think it starts with those certifications.
Yeah, and here in our office, I know our our graphics team, I mean, we are able to help really put a lot of information together, help you with collateral pieces, marketing pieces, social media advertising. So I think it's important to really start utilizing all of those aspects of marketing. If you're not doing it already, just start getting the word out to everybody, start having those conversations, and just make sure that you're ready to go, because once October 1st comes, there's going to be a lot of activity going on, so we have to make sure that we are all prepared.
Yeah, it also doesn't help if you're doing any sort of actual marketing with carriers or plan information, because what's the timeline turnaround for CMS right now?
Yeah, it gets a little bit long. The closer we get to AEP, if you're trying to file any pieces with CMS, you are looking at 4 to 6 week, if not longer, turnaround time to even get approval on the pieces. So again, we got to start talking about those type of things now. If you need to develop a piece that has to be approved by CMS, which means that it's a marketing piece, it talks about benefits, it talks about premiums, so those kind of things on the piece, you've got to start putting those together so that they can get filed sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
Now is the time to do that.
Not to mention the carriers have their own specifics. I know we were talking about this, but you might get something back from a large carrier, and then there's another large carrier that gives you the exact opposite information that the other carrier gave you. So it's a lot of back and forth, and sometimes that 4 to 6 weeks turns into 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, it can be a little bit challenging trying to get those. If the carriers have pre-approved pieces, I definitely say take a look at those pieces to see if they fit what you're looking to do, because then you can just kind of plug and play and get those pieces out, start contacting your clients by utilizing the pre-approved pieces. A lot of times those pieces are, they're carrier specific. They might be a little bit more focused on specific things, maybe not exactly what you're looking for, but if they will work for you, I definitely suggest you take a look at using those.
Yeah, like United Healthcare's got probably the best. Their toolkit is one of the best.
They got a great toolkit. I know most of the carriers have some type of marketing studio that you can utilize. So take a look at all of them and see if they have pieces that will work for you.
Yeah. And so I think the point of this podcast, right, is to make sure we disseminate the information out to people. And I think it's for me the most important takeaway from this episode, outside of the crazy changes, is that you got to be this year. It's ever so important that you have to be ready. You have to come up, sit down, write up a plan, and whether that's by yourself or give us a call. We'd be happy to help you set up a plan, whether it's with your sales marketer, with me. We can coordinate and help you guys, especially if you're an agency owner and you got downlines. I mean, it can get a little cumbersome, right? So you don't have to do this by yourself. We'd be happy to help.
Absolutely not. No, so reach out to the team here. Glad to help you any way we can. And as we get more information, we'll make sure we keep getting that disseminated to everybody. So you've got to follow the podcast. You've got to follow us on social media. You got to make sure that you're connected, because this information, once it starts coming out, it's going to be like a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
It's going to just be flowing, and we're going to have to keep on top of everything. Keep an eye out for webinars that we're going to be having as more information comes out from all of the carriers. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you are following all of this information, right, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think we're going to continuously be doing our best to get all this information out to the masses and hopefully have fun doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But I think that's probably enough information for everybody today. We'll try and keep this information coming as we get it. So, again, contact us with any questions. Keep an eye out for all the stuff as it's coming and flowing from us here. But we're going to end that on that note, and we appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day, and we will look forward to talking to everybody soon.
Till next time.
Yeah, appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thank you.